Welcome to this lesson from the CAS-005 CompTIA SecurityX series. In this session, we'll cover Objective 2.2.1, Security Requirement Definition. This objective is all about identifying and defining security requirements early in the system development lifecycle and keeping those requirements in focus throughout the project. Whether you're building a new application, migrating to the cloud, or deploying a new service, understanding how to capture security needs is critical. We'll break this topic down into three parts: functional requirements, non-functional requirements, the security versus usability trade-off. Let's start with functional requirements. Functional requirements describe what the system must do. They define specific actions the system should be capable of performing, especially when it comes to security. These are usually features or behaviors that can be directly tested or validated. For example, a system must authenticate users using multi-factor authentication. Access to sensitive records must be restricted to users with specific roles. Audit logs must be generated for every login and logout event. Data transferred over the network must be encrypted using TLS version 1.2 or higher. These kinds of requirements form the backbone of any secure system. If they're missed during the planning phase, it becomes much harder to add them later. Let's consider a real-world example. Imagine you're developing a new employee portal. One functional requirement could be, only users in the HR group can access payroll information. This clearly defines a rule that must be enforced by the access control system. Functional requirements should be clear, testable, and written in language that both technical and non-technical stakeholders can understand. Now, let's move to non-functional requirements. Non-functional requirements describe how the system behaves, rather than what it does. These include system qualities such as performance, availability, scalability, and, of course, security. Here are some examples. The system must be available 99.9% of the time. Users must be authenticated within 2 seconds. The system should support up to 10,000 concurrent users. Data backups must be encrypted and retained for at least 12 months. Non-functional requirements may also include compliance and regulatory needs, such as the system must comply with PCI DSS for credit card processing. Logs must be stored for a minimum of 1 year to meet audit requirements. Unlike functional requirements, non-functional ones are not usually about specific tasks the system performs. Instead, they define the environment, conditions, or constraints in which the system operates. Let's go back to our employee portal example. A non-functional requirement might be, the system should respond to user actions within 3 seconds during peak hours. Or, if the system goes down, it must be restored within 30 minutes. These requirements help ensure the system not only works, but works well, securely, and consistently. Now let's look at one of the most important and most difficult parts of security planning: the security versus usability trade-off. Every security feature you add tends to make a system slightly harder to use, and every usability improvement often opens a small window of risk. The challenge is finding the right balance. Let's take some common examples. Requiring users to create 15-character passwords with symbols and numbers increases security, but users may write them down or forget them, increasing help desk calls. Enabling multi-factor authentication at every login boosts protection, but it can slow down workflow and frustrate users. Auto-logging out users after 5 minutes of inactivity protects against session hijacking, but may disrupt people who step away briefly. Too much security leads to friction. Too little, and you're vulnerable. Let's say your company is designing a secure mobile app for field workers. If security requires logging in every time they open the app, even 30 times a day, workers might look for ways to bypass it or stop using the tool altogether. That's not a win for security. Instead, you might implement biometric login, like a fingerprint or facial recognition, for smoother access while still maintaining a good level of protection. That's a security versus usability compromise. It's important to involve both users and security teams early in the requirements phase. This helps make informed decisions that balance risk, efficiency, and user experience. To recap, functional requirements describe specific actions the system must perform. These include authentication, logging, access control, and encryption. Non-functional requirements define the conditions under which the system operates. This includes performance, availability, scalability, and compliance. And finally, security versus usability trade-offs are all about balancing strong protection with a smooth, usable experience for end users. By defining these requirements early and continuing to refine them as the system evolves, you help ensure that security isn't an afterthought. It becomes a core part of system design from day one. Thanks for listening, and stay tuned for the next lesson in the Security Architecture section of the CAS-005 exam series.